always a groovy sound, isn't it? I love it. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Good to see you. I think there's about, about a 30-second delay here. But anyway, we are good and trust everyone is doing well. And welcome. Thank you for being part of this community. And it's very much appreciated. Thank you for adding to it. Thank you, moderators. Much love. And y'all just do a great job. Hello there, Infinite Frequencies. How are you doing? So, what we do here is that we speak favor all the time. I invoke favor upon you right now, favor of the finest kind. May it find you and dwell with you, and may it bring its companion joy into your house, nothing missing, nothing broken. So the reason why we do that is because look at it. We're all going to pass from this life to hopefully the next one, right? There is going to be another incarnation of you in some form, whatever that form is. And the thing about harvest is that they're not, how shall we say, limited to one-dimensional plane of reality. You speak favor in people's lives all the time, and I can assure you that it will carry over to the next, just the way it is. So, not bad, isn't it? Got all that favor coming over into the other side. That's cool. So anyway, hope that it finds you and dwells with you always. So good to see everybody in here. Hello, Lois. How are you, my dear? David Barry, good to see you. Big Al. Boy, there's a lot of people I haven't seen in here before. So welcome. Y'all are groovy, Yeah, I know. I grew up in the perfect time, 1970. Remember the 60s, but the 70s. Whoa. Anyway, I digress. Tonight on the Steiger Perspective over, this is, a little self-promotion, over in the artistfirst.com. Tonight, going to be talking about the transformation. Yeah, if there's one thing about it, we are in transition. I think we're always in transition of some kind. Hello, Twisted Isby. How are you doing? So hi, Pamela. Good to see you. And Desert Rose. Casey, hello. Anyway, we're always transitioning. You stop and think about this for a second. Just close your eyes. Remember when you were 5 years old? That was you. And when you start looking back on that 5-year-old, you begin to realize is that, now, wait a minute. Yeah, I know that was me, but doesn't quite look like me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Think about it when, if you have passed the 20s, look back on your 20s. Yeah, it's that transition. And we're going to talk about it in a much more broader detail. Got a book. My wife brought it home and she was reading it. And she said, you got to read this book. Now, I am I don't know if now I used to think I was a victim. I think now I'm just a test subject of Lyme disease. There is this book written by Chris Newby called Bitten. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The Secret History of Lyme Disease and the Biological Weapons. Our government is, I don't get it. Don't get it. Excuse me, I don't get it. Why do you build this stuff? Why do you make this stuff? Lyme disease nearly damn near killed me. Well, actually, I think the meningitis may have gotten it there, but when the two came together, they had a party. And but the fact is, many people have been a victim of this, and who knows what other infectious disease. But in this case, the spirochete that they unloosed on the United States population, no one knew about it except, our government. And when I say our government, it's obviously it's this big inclusive thing, but actually what it is much more a small segment of our government. Nevertheless, when it got loose there in Lyme, Connecticut, they were watching and seeing, well, what happens? Well, we found out what happens. It messes people up. And many of us, I suffer constantly building my body. So, because these pathogens, these biological time bombs, all are designed to compromise our immune systems. And when you find out about little towns, like Hamilton, Montana, that what the hell? We were looking at some things. Darth, no, I got books stacked. My wife will tell you they're everywhere. So, nasty stuff. Plum Island, I don't know. You've got to ask yourself, why are we into this area? Why do the taxpayers fund this to billions of dollars? When you think about these little towns like Hamilton, Montana, level 4 biolab. That's some serious stuff, baby. That's the stuff that'll kill you like real quick. Or, the slow leak. In any case, we're going to talk about this in the future, because seems to find out that they got these labs all over in the most isolated spots. Yeah. And it's nasty, folks. It's nasty. And if you're a victim of it, you know it. We can't sue the government, because the government, is, how shall they say, immune from that. But boy, you know what it's like. So anyway, check it out. Biological warfare. And here's the thing. If we're doing it, so are the other guys. Yeah. That'll make you feel real good, don't it? All righty. So tomorrow we're going to do a little segment. Well, Big Al, if you've been to Plum Island back in the 70s, brother, that's like going into the nuclear radiation zone. So tomorrow we're going to talk about cleansing. Going to teach you how you can begin to cleanse your property, how you can begin to set up watchtowers on your property, your house, how you won't have to be, and this includes your children, family members, pets, how you can actually encase them in a barrier of protection. You really can. And I'll teach you also how you set booby traps for the ones that try to sneak in. As we found out in the Spiritus book, some of these spirits are just, well, they're just pricks. They were probably SOBs over here, and apparently it carries over. I mean, I think we're all going to be quite surprised in what that next realm is going to be like. Like, oh crap, didn't even realize it. Yeah. All right, got some books. So spoke with David Barry by email, and hey Nick, how you doing, buddy? We're going to start, when I start putting the PDFs up that, I come across, and we've got thousands of them, folks. We'll never run out of material. Never. We're going to put it up over on the Crystal network. So, if you're not a part of that, make sure to be a part of it. So speaking of which, got a great book. I believe that there is a revival taking place, and that revival, it seems to be leading towards a reestablishment of the true goddess, the great goddess. Folks, I'm absolutely convinced that there is great foundation to this. And if you read enough of what those in academia who, have made a career out of looking at the esoteric, looking at the spiritual side of the equation. We're going to get over into the Ether PDF right after this, because you've got to see this. The fact is that there is something going on. I contend it's probably the battle that we're not aware of, but yet we sense. Forces are at opposition of each other. You've got what has been primarily the last 4,000 years, this infection of a virus that brought this male-dominated thought that it was the highest ascension, it was responsible for all creation, which is bullshit. If you're worshiping a male god, I don't know how to tell you, you're worshiping the wrong one. You shouldn't be worshiping any god. The question I always ask, I meditate on this, did it this morning in my meditation time. Why would a god want worshipers? Ask yourself. Why would any god? It's a spirit. It's mental masturbation. That's what worship of God is. Because what would be the purpose? What, it gets off on it? That the fact that you're getting off on it's getting off? I mean, come on, folks. This is nonsense. And it's voices like myself, and there's others out there. We're trying to tell people, hey, get a grip. So this book is called The Spiritual Dance. It's the rebirth of the ancient religion of the great goddess, Starhawk. It is a most fascinating book. It gets into, the reason why they have made such a concerted effort to, how shall we say, hijack the thought and the associated reaction to the word witchcraft. And we're coming up in Halloween. And so mainstream media, it's all about projecting, in which witchcraft is simply mean. A witch is a wise woman. But anyway, they purposely did this hundreds and hundreds of years ago, probably 1,000 years ago, starting out with the Vatican. The Vatican was just picking up on what the Egyptians had brought in, and subsequently, the Hebraic manifestation of a male personification called God. And starting from the Asheroths of the Baals, the Molochs, the thing that history has purposely, those who have written history, carved out was the female goddess. So if you take the stance today by the male dominance of this, God is a homosexual. It's the only thing you can come up with. And don't give me the crap about the Holy Spirit representing the feminine. That can't be proven. That's only a theology. Yeah, I know I'm going to get some reactions out of this, but folks, you got to look at this logically. I mean, you can't have a bunch of males walking around with no females. We got a word for that. They're gay. Now, if they're gay, we celebrate their coming out. But nevertheless, someone's got to bring back in, and this is what this particular book deals with. She really gets into, and we're going to get into a lot of the founders, particularly that who have brought in the resurgence, the rebirth of the goddess at the head of the figurehead. So if you want it, let me know, and I will send it to you. We're going to get more into it for sure. But boy, I just now noticed something wait a minute. There we go. It's like suddenly my camera view changed. Got me up close and personal. Yeah, Terrell, that's, listen, it's the only way you can look at this. Now, I may be the only one that's, goes where no angel ever has tread, but the fact is, you walk away from this and you're going, it's got a bunch of dudes, man. And, you start getting into the weirdness of what they're writing, and, you're going, well, wait a minute. Is there more of an agenda going on than what we are aware of? Apparently so. All right. Is God asexual? Well, Lawrence, that is a good question. But the question is yes. And all you have to do is to do a study in Leviticus. This God, highly sexual, very highly sexual. Yeah. It's just the way it is, folks. So anyway, let's continue. So give me 1 second here. All right. So I want to bring this up for us all. We've been studying, I've been telling you about this PDF on the ether. It gets very technically mathematical here, I know, but if you set aside the math, which, by the way, I'm glad that this professor, this doctor, did this. He literally has, in my humbled opinion, blown the doors off of this archaic nonsense that if you talk the ethereal, the ether, that you're some kind of whack job, you're out on the fringe. No. So this interesting point about light, he writes in here, in the early scientific era of the 17th century, there were two conflicting theories of light based on its properties of reflection and traveling in straight lines. Isaac Newton held it to be a stream of particles, but this did not explain optical dispersion, where a beam of white light is split up by a glass prism into a rainbow of colors. We've all done this. Neither did it account for diffraction, where light passing a small hole or narrow slit causes fringes on a screen. How many of you ever been in the eclipse? The one that just happened here. There's another one coming up here in a couple of years. But the snakes, right as you're about to hit totality, it's a weird thing what happens with light, because the earth is concaved and it acts as a lens. And when that light is so narrowed, you see the snakes everywhere. My wife and our daughter started feeling nauseated by it. That's how it works. All right, so both of these phenomena are consistent with the wave model proposed by Christian Huygens, that light has a characteristic speed of c and a frequency of F are always wave properties. Since physical waves require a medium, Huygens propounded a luminous ether, conceived at the time as essentially homogeneous and stationary in space. Mainly due to his greater prestige, Newton's corpuscular theory held sway for more than 100 years. Max Planck spoke of Huygens as saying, having dared to contest the mighty emission theory of Sir Isaac Newton. Although, in fact, the corpuscular theory wasn't even Sir Isaac's. It was first formulated in the 10th century by an Arab, polymath Ibn, and I don't know how to say that, is it Haytham, who wrote the book of optics. Light rays are streams of minute particles, lacking any sensible qualities except energy. Wow. This is essentially the modern concept of a photon. Wow. Seriously, wow. Now, he gets in here and gets into the math. I want to kind of bring this down and show you that we talked about Einstein. So we know the conceptual is this, that waves are experimentally, light behaves both as a wave and as particle, the so-called wave-particle duality. For present purposes, its wave behavior is of most interest. A wave is not itself a material object. It is an event, a time-dependent disturbance propagating through a physical medium at a characteristic speed of c, that's light speed, determined by the properties of that medium. In other words, the equation would read wave equals disturbance propagating through a medium. When one throws a pebble into a pond, the disturbance spreads out as ripples propagating over its surface at a characteristic speed determined by the properties of the water medium. The same holds true for sea waves and disturbances here being caused by wind. He goes on into the example right here. Now, why this is so important, I'll tell you why it's important. Because this begins to establish that if, in fact, the ether can be quantified, that this changes everything for science, for the universe, cosmology. I mean, it all begins to get very interesting. Again, the math is complex as he gets further into this. If you want it, let me know, and I will, in fact, get it to you. Interesting stuff. We're at a time, folks, where science is being rewritten, re-identified. And we're studying the esoteric. We're studying the gnosis of knowledge. The knowledge they don't want us to find and, talk about, but we are. And in it, we're finding science everywhere. That's what's so freaking cool. Okay. So the guiding light, I love that. Isn't that? Hey, Nina the Mystic, how are you? There's my friend Flight Risk. Good to see you. Wayne Murray, hello. The ether is an organic compound. Everything living can only be because it was built using the ether. I think that, Wayne, is well spoken. I really do. I think that that's the way it is. It's very interesting, this camera. I'm going to have to readjust it, but hey, love seeing my face. It's a beautiful face. Your face is beautiful. We all got beautiful faces. They're all different. Seems like AI knows that as well, and they're collecting our faces. Well, that's another story for another day. Let's get right up to this. Now, I've got the Word doc done. on what we're going to finish up today in our reading of John Kettner's book, How to Create Your Servitor. We left off where now we have charged our servitor. We know how to do it. And again, it's in a Word doc, step-by-step instructions. Now, the thing is, many of us have figured this out, is that, okay, we've probably created these things, many of us not even being aware. And you know, that's like a kid being left home alone. You know, trouble is going to follow. And I think that that's, in a lot of our cases, what we have found ourselves. So let's get with this. Casting your servitor. The final step in this magical exercise is to be able to send your servitor out into the world so that it can do your bidding. I just ask, how many others who have known this and who have become masters at this, I mean, how many of them are there? I mean, there could be technically trillions of these things out there. All right. You will have to be sure that you have given your servitor a good charge so that you truly believe that it is a living creature or machine, if you like, ready and able to do your bidding. It is also important that you have developed a good sense of what you intended it to do so that there are no doubts in your mind. Yeah, there comes a point in time when you cross the line that you can't change your mind. Hey, that's a rhyme for the time. Anyway, to cast your servitor, follow this 5-step method. 1, find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed to call your servitor. Use your magical and secret name and repeat it until you believe that your servitor is before you. When you are confident that your servitor is before you, perhaps because you can feel its energy, or perhaps because you are able to see it before you as a physical form, I want you to charge your servitor one last time. Follow the methods described in the previous chapter so that for a good 5 to 10 minutes, you believe that every fiber of your being, that your servitor is real and before you. Use every single ounce of focusing power available to you and believe in the certainty of your servitor for those 5 to 10 minutes. Trina and I, yesterday, we were talking about how as children do this naturally. We all did this naturally at one time. So it shouldn't come as being that difficult. And again, the key to this is fun. Make it fun. It's a game. That's why children are so good at it. And it's why their servitors love them, play with them. Let's continue. Right after you have finished charging it, I want you to give your servitor one strong command and then send it out to do your bidding. For example, if I had created a servitor named Turtle that I wanted to use to protect my house, I would say something like this in a strong, commanding voice right after I finished charging it for the first time. Turtle, go out and protect my house and keep it safe from all who would harm it. Now, I've done this when I was in the Christian faith. I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I kind of did, but not in this particular way. It works, folks. It works. Regardless of what you paint your house with. That's your theology. All right, let's continue. Now see your servitor leaving your general area. Believe it with every ounce of your being, just like you believe that it was real before when you were charging it. The casting process is an act of will, an act of conscious intent. In order to perform this act correctly, you need to use the same method you use to charge your servitor. You essentially need to believe that your servitor is leaving and going to do what you say. You need to believe this with all your being, just like you believe that it is real. This is how an active intent is formed and developed. If you do this correctly, you will see or feel the servitor leaving your area and going about its business. In other words, doing what you desire. The final step is essentially an act of faith. It is directly related to the previous step in that it is a further development of the intent that you set in motion. By intending your servitor to go forth and do your bidding, you are commanding through personal belief. You intend by believing that your will is obeyed. You maintain this intent by having faith in your servitor and in the power of your command. Now, I want to say something about this here. In my corporate life, and, I was privileged to be in the founding fathers of the internet, establishing the B2B concept that now has dominated the world. We were doing this in groups. My lead development group, there were meetings that lasted way early into the morning. Extreme focus was given. We would call our software, we gave it a name. It began to take on as though it actually had a place on the conference table. But the thing was, everyone on the team had 100% of their focus in on the thought. All right, we continue. As I mentioned earlier, this methodology does not require you to understand the ancient Babylonian getting up at 3 a.m. on the night of a full moon or vibrate at a certain frequency. All that is required for you is that you have great focus and have the ability to manipulate your beliefs. The inner self, that bigger part of you that some like to label the subconscious, will take care of all the work needed to develop a powerful thought unit that should be capable of affecting physical reality. This is what we're talking about now. Controlling your servitor. One of the biggest problems I find people are having with their servitors is that they seem to not to be able to gain the kind of control that they would like to have over these creatures. I am hoping that this section will be able to clarify some of those issues. Could be healthy. Seriously, if you have the ability to create this, listen, those of you that have children, this is no different. People say, well, how can you compare this to a living human being? Because primarily it's the same thing. Thought is what's driving these bodies. Where does your thoughts originate? Who drives your thoughts? The slide graphic I did, I thought was perfect. I guarantee you, if I went out and did the person on the street survey and asked the average citizen, who is driving your thoughts? I would get a look like, what? Beavis and Butthead. he asked if who's driving my thoughts, right. Anyway, what I usually tell people when they're having problems with their servitors or with any kind of thought form that they think is bothering them is to watch a few episodes of The Dog Whisperer with Cesar Millan. In this show, Cesar shows owners how the dogs that they consider pets have become their masters. And he goes about trying to teach people how to regain control. Caesar is essentially teaching everyone how to attain alpha dominance, and his techniques work perfectly when it comes to thought forms as well. Beautiful, beautiful comparison. You must always remember that you are the one in control. You are the one who gives energy to the servitors that you create, and you are the one who can control energy with your mind, which can even be used to repel any thought form that might become unpleasant. Many people find this dominant attitude quite difficult. It is because of this difficulty that they have many of the problems they are encountering with thought form. If you're not used to being a leader, expecting your command to be carried out, this can become very difficult. Many people are uncomfortable with that. But you have to develop it. Folks, I keep telling you, when you pass over to the other side, you're not going to be in this, I don't know what people think. Most people think that they're going to be taken care of. You know, I wouldn't bet everything on that. That's why religion is so, how should we say, convenient. Because you don't have to worry about that. Well, I'm going to heaven. Or you're going to hell, you know. All right. Well, all right, check that off my list. I know what the next night. No. All right. He writes, I have also found that some people are very good at creating an actual servitor. That is, they can create a form and imbue that form with enough psychic energy to make it functional. But they seem to lack the ability to move this creature about that they have created. For people who are having this kind of problem, I usually advise that they take a different approach to the whole charging operation. I usually tell folks who are experiencing this difficulty to take a longer period to charge their servitors so that while they are charging them, they are also practice giving them simple commands. What I recommend is that they charge their servitor for a few minutes, and then once they can see or feel the form of their servitor, order the servitor to go from one end of the room to the other. Let's say, for example, that you are charging your servitor and that you can actually see it or feel it right above the piece of paper that you use to create it. When it becomes powerful enough that you can actually sense its form, I want you to try and have this creature move away from the paper to perhaps the other side of the room where you happen to find yourself. Does it move? If it doesn't, and you find that it is quite difficult for you to have it move in a steady fashion, what you need to do is to realize that in order to have it move in the way that you want it to, you need to develop your intent. If you will remember, the act of intending is really the act of believing without question that the command that you have given is being carried out. So in order to have your servitor move when you intend it to move, what you need to do is believe that every ounce of your being, that it is moving to the area where you want it to go. You use the same method that you use to charge your servitor, you intend by believing. In essence, it's kind of the same thing about when you decide to walk. You know, you get up and you're saying, oh, I'm going to go do such and such. The thought becomes the reality of your body. Your will is moving the body. The body can't move of its own cognition. Think about that. So if you're having a problem controlling your servitor and getting the results that you want from it, I suggest that you take it easy when you are charging it and practice giving your servitor simple commands. It should obey these commands instantly. As I told one of my readers, that you have learned how to create the machine, now you must learn how to control it. In this fashion, you can develop your servitor's power, and at the same time, you can work on having it do what your desires on command. Have it move across the room, have it spin around, make it go up and down. When you can get your servitor to move about effortlessly, you will be ready to cast your servitor so that it goes forth and executes your desires instantly. What is wonderful about this form of slow charging is that your servitor becomes far more concrete after one of these exercises. Since you are not just charging your servitor in one area, you get to see and discover many aspects of your thought form. For example, when you ask it to go from one end of the room to another, you are forced to extend the power of your charge so that you must also feel in the details for what your servitor might look like from behind. Or what it might look like when it's moving. If your servitor moves past certain furniture, you can see through it. A powerful visualizer, one that is really good at believing in the reality of their servitor, can create a thought form that is so vivid that it actually looks solid and opaque as it travels from one end of the room to the other. It is usually servitors that are created using this slower charging method that become truly powerful in a very short time. I have personally been able to see glimpses of servitors created by others in days using this method. Whenever I wish to truly condense a thought form and increase the power of my servitor exponentially, I too use this method, which always delivers amazing results. Think of this slow charging method, coupled with exercises commanding your servitor to be the advanced charging method, so that you use when you are comfortable with your servitor and wish it to give a stronger charge. Over time, you will develop the power of your intent. Personal intent is empowered through strong focus and the ability to easily manipulate your beliefs. Professional athletes do this all the time. Watch them as they're performing. The top ones all know about visualization. Once your intent becomes powerful enough, you should have no problem controlling your servitor. You will also discover that you will be able to command thought forms that were not created by you. This is a very good skill to have, as you will discover in the next chapter. So that's as far as I was going to go on this one. It's interesting with this camera. It's like, hey, what happened here? But in any case, yeah. The reason why I know this stuff, it works, is that when you create a company, an idea that you actually begin to take it to the market and you begin to get customers, all companies are the result of the founder's thought forms coming into full manifestation. Corporations have a life of their own. It's quite amazing when you think how you can have the board who controls management, and the board changes, management changes, but the company stays the same. That's a thought form, that's a servitor that is still outlived many times the founders themselves. Think about it. No, Shane, a servitor does not need an expiration date. That's probably some of the issues is that they don't have. Sometimes people create them and forget about them. Not a good thing. We're going to discover later how we can clean some of those up. But yeah, I contend that it's sometimes, I think, the very thing that's boomerangs us. We didn't realize that the trap door was there, and you go, where the hell did that come from? Like, what's happening here? Yeah. Tactical information is the most fleeting of all. There you go. There you go, Wayne Murray. Yep. Seen it myself. Actually, you can say the same thing on political candidates. When a political candidate is elected, it is in essence sending out servitors for its purpose. I contend if we could see this, we would be quite amazed. I think you can, Darth. What is it that, so can you have them help you move and get a new job? Absolutely. I'll tell you how you do that. First of all, you have to establish what house is it that you want. Does it have 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? Does it have, is it a ranch? Is it a 2-story? What is it? Now talk about your job. Again, get the Word document I have. It will teach you how to actually get this so refined, so defined in your conscious, in subconscious mind. It's the same thing charging sigils, the same thing when you want to send out a thought form. We learned that 3-4 months ago, never realizing that when we actually charge and then banish our sigils for that particular point, all we were doing, folks, in a very short period of time, we were creating a servitor. The sigil is one of the most powerful aspects of it. Why? Because it allows us to focus in on something intently. And once we focus in on it, and particularly when you charge it within, let's say, my case, the power circle, call it your magic circle. And when I start really focusing in, drawing by hand, the sigils, each one hitting at the 4 cardinal points and then the 4 subpoints, and then beginning to come in, that, folks, is what's happening. It's highly intent. I don't have a problem seeing this when I have banished the sigils that I put out there to put to work. They're working. I don't have to worry. I don't even think about it. This is what we're talking about. Same thing goes in. So I hope that helped. You get that out there. And folks, listen, I'll tell you how I learned back in the 70s. I come from the constructions trade, and I began to recognize a new industry that was emerging. And I wanted to be a part of that industry. I was so intent that, and I'll just lay it out for you. So I ran my own company. I was a drywall finisher and was good at it. Commercial work was my specialty. I came across, now this was after I had learned about this industry, and the industry was the video post-production industry. Had no way of breaking into it. Didn't know anyone. But I had focused in on it for hours and hours and hours. When you're finishing drywall, this is where I learned to meditate, standing up. You literally can. And boom, I got a contract to do the first cable company, Warner Communications, back in the day. This is before it was Time Warner. The first microwave cable that you could get, the consumer would get. Well, they were putting in a complete studio. Boom. Now I'm there and I'm learning this. So I went up to the vice president that was running the operations there in the St. Louis area and went into her office, and I said, here's the deal. I said, I want to learn about this industry. And I said, I have no way of getting on the inside but through you. So I said, here's the deal. I will do the work on the sound stage, everything that's needing to be done at no cost, if you will have your engineers teach me the business, the technology. Made a deal. And from there, I got into the video post-production industry. That's the type of thing that I'm talking about, folks. The things that can really change. And it's no different. That's why it's very easy for me to talk about this, because I know it works. There's no religion. There's no dogma. There's no magic trick to this. It really is focus, concentration, manifesting the ether, the substance. Remember, what is faith? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It happens. So if we figure it out here, it's going to change our lives. It'll change your life personally. And it will cause circumstances to change in your life. I know. And many of you know it too. So that's how it works. And tomorrow we're going to get into a little deeper on this from a different perspective. Talk about cleansing. What's really going on? I mean, these are energies that are operating in the ether, but have the effect to impact your life. Think about that. How is that working? Who's doing that? How is that interchange going? You see, I never get into, when I read other material, and what's so disappointing, they talk about it, at a conceptual level. I want to know what is going on. How are they, the spirit, the energies, whatever you want to call them, how are they able to manipulate circumstances that I can't see? How is it that they're able to come in and tune circumstances that will affect your life? Why does the shit come in? All of a sudden you're saying, where'd this come from? How is that working? That's what should drive all of us. How is that done? There has to be a technical process. I don't believe it's just manifesting energy out of nothing. I don't buy that. So I don't buy the Big Bang Theory. The problem with the Big Bang Theory, they're saying it's magic. Now, no physicist will agree to that, but you argue with that physicist in a straight up intellectual debate, and they'll walk away because they can't disagree with you. Well, where did this energy come from? Oh, it's magic, man. It just appeared. No, it doesn't work that way. And if the circumstances can be so bad in a person's life that we can understand them, and if we can begin to crack that code, then that means we should be able to reverse the circumstances. True or not? It's absolutely true. Anyway. Okay. Tune in tonight over the Steiger Perspective. We're going to get into a lot of what we can't talk about on YouTube, but we can talk about over there. Folks, we've got to start getting ourselves in unified beliefs here. And so what's easier, summoning servitudes or spirit guides? Well, I think that they're talking about two different things here, Darth. That's what I would say. Well, thank you, Lost in Space. Good. That's what I am here to do. Pass it on. That's all. Pass it on the love, man. This is the knowledge. All right, folks, I'm going to cut out early. I'll see you either tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 Mountain, or see you tomorrow at the noonday show. 1 year we've been doing this meeting together. Started out small and we're growing. So Love you all. Thank you for your time, your energy, and be good to yourselves. All right, folks, we'll talk to you later. Peace.